Okay, good day everybody. My name is Bright Ekemini Itoma. But though my industry name is Bright Lights, I'm a lighting designer, consultant. I'm a lighting rigger. I do lighting business all in all. So this is my masterclass for lighting. You know, the only proof you know that you are not blind is when you see the light. That's when you discover that you are not a blind person. So lighting always comes first. When that's why they say camera, lights, and the rest is the rest of the story. So we want to talk about lighting today, and we'll start from the very basics. As we were taught, there is something called three-point lighting. The three-point lighting is the three-dimensional lighting. But though for today, because of little podcast and ring light and most of those events has almost ruled out the three-point lighting rule, which is the key lights, the fill, and the backlight, for you to have a perfect lighting for whatever you want to shoot. But sometimes when you have your three-point lighting, you have to be very creative so you don't have your shadows overlapping each other. Sometimes, when you put up your light, you say, okay, your key light has to be harsh a bit, like where I'm sitting right now. I have my key light by the side of my face, which is very strong, and I have my field light on this other side. And if you look at the shape of my face, I think you have to see like a bit of shadows, and so now how do you control that shadow so that it doesn't look ugly? Because sometimes shadow makes you look weird. It tells stories. So how do you want to tell your stories with shadow? Is by trying to adjust your key light and your fill light. How do you adjust it? Your key light has to be 90-degree away from your eye level, almost this way. Then you have your shadow or your chin shadow somewhere here. Then your fill light have to be a bit soft. It must not be harsh like the key light. It has to be very soft. You bring it closer to your face. That is called the beauty light, and it must not be above your head. It has to be, at an angle. So that explains the key and the fill. Now let's talk about the backlight. The backlight is another beauty light which aligns the hairline, like proper. If you have someone with a lot of hair, some people call it the hair light. So the backlight gives you the kick. It separates you from the background, because if you don't have your backlight, sometimes it will look as if your object is like a drawing, when you sketch something without having the depth. So the backlight will be what you will use to separate this object, which is me, from the background. Then you will see the hairline, you will see the shoulder properly, you will see the curve. Whatever your shoulder looks like, your edges, that is what the backlight is for. So now that is for one. What I have explained now is just the basic of the key, the fill, and the backlight. So now let's push it a little bit, take it to the next level. If you have more than 3 people on set to light. If you have more than 3 people on set to lights, there is a trick we call a key and a fill. So for instance, I have one person here and another person seated opposite me, and we have a shot coming in. There is this trick that you can always use. This person sitting opposite me, you can use my key light for that person's backlight, because you can't distribute all key lights to the six of us or the three of us. There is no way you will have three key lights in one set. If you do it, you will have a lot of shadows everywhere. So what you do is you position your key lights in such a way that it will serve for another person's field. If my key lights serve for this person's field or this person's backlight, and I have another person sitting here, my key light can be that person's field also. So that key light serves for this person's field, and the same thing for my own field. My own field light can become this other person's key light and be this person's key light. Then we can now distribute the backlights. Now, that is for a talk show setting. So if we now go into film, let's say we have a scenario in a living room where you have windows and doors. Now you have to look at what is the scenario, what is the screenplay of that particular script of the scene you are shooting at that time. And another thing is you have to be time conscious. What time of the day is that script talking about? If it's talking about, let's say, early in the morning between 9 a.m. and say 11 a.m., you know then the sun is just rising. So you have to throw in a replica of a sunlight from your windows. And you have to put it at an angle to push your lights according to the time frames. There is something called a bounce board, a butterfly, where you can always use to put it in front of your window before you put your light. It softens the light according to the time frame of whatever you want to achieve. So if you have probably you have like an aperture 120 or aperture 600 from a window. It depends on how you throw it and whatever you want to achieve. Then you have a light coming into the building already. Then you now come into the set. You might have like a matte light or a soft light coming above your objects. The same key feel, but you have to distribute them evenly, because what you're trying to do is you want to replicate whatever is going on in reality to the screen. So how do you achieve that? Is by enhancing whatever temperature you have inside the building as at that time. Sometimes most gaffers do not really like to use the existing light bulbs that are on. So for me, sometimes I walk into a building, I love switching off all the lights and create my own mood. So creating my own mood is me going into the script, looking for the time frame of that particular story at that time to set the temperature. And I don't just do it on my own. I do it with the help of my DP, which is my director of photography, which I am like his runner. I am trying to create the mood which is going to strive on. So how do I create that mood is liaising with him. What do you like? What will you love to see? How do you want this to move from this to that? So we talk about the scenario and we move then. There are different types of light and equipment you use as at that time. We have the matte lights, we have the apertures, we have the HMIs, we have the stick light, then we have the aperture MCs for all those, because you will have to create as much as possible light fixtures at the time to make sure you achieve that scene. Okay, let's look at a bedroom scene. If you have a bedroom scene, night scene to shoot, what you do for a night scene is still like, okay, going back to, you must know what you want to shoot, what time of the day, what is the temperature required for that very time of the day. If it is a night scene, What do you usually see at night? Is it a neighborhood where you have um, street light? Is it a neighborhood where you have light from other neighbors coming into the window? If you open your window, what do you see at night? So you can try to, replicate all those things. Like, okay, for instance, you still have your aperture, because now there are some equipment we call the gels, the filters. The filters give you comes in different colors. You have the city blue, half orange, full orange, and quarter orange. And you have peacock blue, full peacock blue. You have cyan blue. You have a lot of them. It depends on what you want. It depends on the color of the gel you want at that time to create the mood you need that will be coming in from the window. But it will be very, very controlled. Or I might use blue. It depends on the environment, and it depends on if it is like a village bedroom scene, because in the village you are not expected to see street lights, you're not expected to see light from the neighbors. What you leave off from the village is the moonlight. So you have to create that moonlight. So what is the moonlight? So you go into your filter racks and dig out a, maybe not cyan blue, or you look for your moon blue, and you stick it in front of your light, and it will give you that perfect color from your window. So when you now come inside the house, inside the room, you have to play with a minimum light that you can. Very minimal. You don't need too much light. Just something to highlight here and there, because it's night. You're not trying to blow up the whole space. Cover it a bit, with all my black wraps, and shape it out in such a way that I can always, you know, open up, because at some point you will have to use some practical lights, some bedside lamp to create that same mood. Then when you look at the camera, you see that, okay, fine, everything comes out right. Okay, now let's talk about the use of different equipment, which comprises of you have the C stands, you have the black stands, you have a pole cart, you have the matte light, you have Aperture 600, you have Aperture's MC, you have Aperture Storms, you have a lot of them, Amaras, a lot of lights equipment that you can use. But sometimes you just need to go on online and search for them. You will see a lot of them, because most of them comes with different compartments. You have the butterflies, you have the dome, you have the Chinese lantern, you have the rigs, you have the poly boards, a lot of them. On the film terms, they call us the madhouse of production, because we have so much equipment too, because you won't be able to just sit down in a place and call all the names of the lights that is existing at once. When you see it, you ask questions, and we take you through there. So that is for film. Let's go into live show, the big stage. The big stage in concerts, where you have the Whiskey, the Davido, the Bonners come to perform, is a different ball game. It's nothing close to what we discussed earlier. This is the part where you run yourself. You can walk 3 days without even asking for food. Is that serious? You can, when you have a particular event that you need to do, and you have to work with almost 1,000 fixtures, at least 500 lights to 1,000 lights, and all of them has to be assigned to do something, and all of them have their different names and assignment. They don't all work at the same time. You call them like commander have the militaries, and you call this is military and everybody have to answer according to the rank. That is how it works. So for concerts, for live shows, we have most time we call all of them moving heads, but the moving heads, they have names. We have the beams, we have the washers, we have the LED power cans, we have the strip lights, we have the M18, we have the cobras, we have spiders, and we have the cat 5 cables, we have the DMX cables, and we have the console. The console is the commander, the mixer itself, where you will have to connect all these lights and program them to do one thing. The different lights have to come in to do one thing. That's why I say it's by ranking. That is one aspect. We have another department called the riggers. The riggers are coming to build the structure for all these things to go on. The light will be hung in there. The sound will be hanging there. The screens will be hanging there. Special effects will be hanging in there also. So they have to give us a proper rig that will carry everything, or else in the middle of the show, there will be a disaster. The tent will fall, or the ground support might go down. So everybody needs to know what everybody is planning to do. You need to know what your neighbor is doing. Your neighbor needs to know what the next department is doing. What are they bringing? So now, by the time you've listed out your whole structure list, and we see that, okay, this is what is going to work with, this is what you're going to work with, then we start rigging the light after the riggers have given us the perfect platform for us to work with. Now the lighting designer now comes in with his design. How to do it? Where will the follow spot be? Where will the LEDs be? Is it going to be beams, LED power cans, LED wash? Is all how they're going to arrange it. But most of this thing is always cute when you come to site, when you come to the location and see. And after we have finished, we might have finished rigging the entire ground support. We'll do the cabling. There are two types of cabling. One is power. Second one is the signal cable. Power is to bring the electricity from the generator or from wherever you are bringing the power from to power the light. Then the DMX cable, the signal cable, is what is taking the signal to the console, where we will be doing the controlling. So after all those ones might have happened, there's something we call technical rehearsals. We do the technical rehearsals before the show. But mind you, you cannot walk in that day you have an event to rig your stage. That show might not happen. Sometimes we rig for 3 days, sometimes we rig for 4 days or 5 days. It depends on the show and how big the event is.